God's chosen ones. God waited 2 hours to say this. Don't ignore it. Stop scrolling. Stop wondering. This isn't a glitch in your day. It's a summons. Heaven paused everything for you. Chosen one, listen carefully. Have you ever wondered why your prayers feel like they're hitting a ceiling? Why you've been crying out to God for months, maybe years, and all you hear back is deafening silence? Why it feels like everyone else is getting their breakthrough while you're stuck in the waiting room of heaven? Here's the shocking truth nobody's telling you. God hasn't been ignoring you. He's been waiting for this exact moment. Waiting for you to be desperate enough, broken enough, ready enough to receive what He's about to release. You didn't stumble into this message by accident. Your finger didn't randomly tap this video. This is divine intervention, a holy interruption. Every angel assigned to your life just leaned in because what's about to be spoken over you isn't just encouragement, it's instruction, it's warning, it's activation. For 2 hours, heaven held its breath. The throne room went silent. Even the seraphim stopped their worship, because God had something urgent to say to His chosen ones. Something so critical, so time-sensitive, that He couldn't wait another moment. You've been sensing it, haven't you? That stirring in your chest, that unexplainable restlessness, that growing ache in your spirit, that things are shifting, the pull towards silence, the sudden disgust with distractions, the way your old circle feels foreign now. This isn't anxiety. This is awakening. This isn't just another video you'll scroll past and forget. This is a visitation, a moment where eternity breaks into time and speaks directly to your soul. And if you're feeling that fire in your bones right now, that's not emotion, that's confirmation. The Spirit of the living God is hovering over you, just like He hovered over the waters in Genesis. Something is about to be created. Something is about to be born. Something that's been dormant in you is about to roar to life. But here's what you need to understand. This window won't stay open forever. God has given you a narrow margin to respond, a sacred moment to align. And what you do in the next few minutes will either ignite your assignment or delay it another season. Thank you to every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here, your support, your time, your attention. It all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead, comment 777 if your spirit is stirring right now. That's not random, that's alignment. That's your prophetic act of agreement with what heaven is about to release. The next few moments require your full attention, because this isn't a sermon, it's a visitation, and God will not repeat Himself. Have you ever cried yourself to sleep, wondering if God forgot your name? Have you ever screamed into the silence, begging heaven to answer, only to hear your own echo bouncing back? Have you ever felt like everyone else got invited to the miracle party while you're still sitting in the parking lot? Listen to me, chosen one. That silence you've been enduring isn't punishment. It's not abandonment. It's not God hitting the ignore button on your prayers. That silence is sacred strategy. You see, there's something about the heart of God that most people misunderstand. We think silence means absence. We think delay means denial. We think waiting means He's forgotten. But what if I told you that every moment of silence was actually God holding His breath, preparing to release something so powerful that if it came too early, you couldn't handle it? Let me take you to a dusty road in Bethany, 2,000 years ago. Jesus received urgent news. His dear friend Lazarus was dying. Martha and Mary sent word immediately, "Lord, the one you love is sick." They expected Jesus to drop everything and come running. Any good friend would, right? But here's what shook the disciples to their core. John 11:6 says, "So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. 2 more days. Can you imagine Martha pacing the floor? Can you picture Mary watching her brother's breath grow shallower by the hour? They kept looking down that road, expecting to see Jesus' silhouette on the horizon. But all they saw was dust and disappointment. By the time Jesus arrived, Lazarus had been dead for 4 days. 4 days. Martha met him with words that probably echo in your own heart. Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. If you had been here, if you had answered sooner, if you had moved when I begged you to move. But here's the mystery that changes everything. Jesus wasn't late. He was right on time. Not human time, but heaven's time. You see, Jewish tradition said the soul lingered near the body for 3 days after death. By waiting until the 4th day, Jesus eliminated any doubt. There would be no argument about a coma, no discussion about near-death experiences. This was resurrection, pure and simple. God is a master conductor. Every silence in your life is sheet music for what's about to roar. Every delay is deliberate. Every pause has purpose. He's not stalling your breakthrough. He's staging it. Think about it. If Jesus had healed Lazarus when he was just sick, it would have been impressive. But raising him from the dead, that was impossible made possible. That was heaven flexing its muscles. That was God showing off his power in a way that left no room for doubt. Your silence isn't empty space, it's pregnant pause. It's the moment before the symphony begins. It's the stillness before the storm of blessing breaks over your life. You've been sitting in that silence, praying, and all you heard back was your own breath. You've been wondering if your prayers are bouncing off the ceiling. You've been questioning if God even hears you anymore. But what if I told you that heaven's silence wasn't absence, it was incubation? What if every unanswered prayer was actually being stored up, accumulated, compounded with interest in heaven's bank? What if God wasn't ignoring your cries but collecting them, waiting for the perfect moment to release an answer so overwhelming it would make up for every night you cried yourself to sleep? You see, God doesn't just answer prayers. He orchestrates miracles, and miracles require perfect timing. Maybe you've been praying for financial breakthrough for months, and your bank account is still gasping for air. Maybe you've been crying out for healing, and your body still aches. Maybe you've been begging for restoration in your family, and the silence at the dinner table is still deafening. But what if God is waiting because what He's preparing to give you is so much bigger than what you asked for? What if your financial breakthrough isn't just a few extra dollars, but complete debt cancellation and generational wealth? What if your healing isn't just relief from symptoms, but a testimony that will inspire thousands? What if your family restoration doesn't just bring peace, but turns your house into a beacon of hope for broken families across America? The waiting isn't wasted time. It's sacred preparation. God has been using every silent moment to prepare your heart, to build your capacity, to strengthen your foundation for what's coming. Right now, as you're hearing these words, something is shifting in the spirit realm. The same God who raised Lazarus from the dead is looking at your situation, your dead dreams, your buried hopes, your impossible circumstances, and He's saying what He said that day in Bethany. Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? God didn't ignore you. He preserved you. He kept you through every storm, every setback, every silent night. He held you when you couldn't hold yourself. He breathed life into you when you wanted to give up. And now, right now, He's pressing play. The conductor is raising his baton. The orchestra of heaven is taking position. And the symphony of your breakthrough is about to begin. But here's the question that will determine everything. Are you ready to believe that your Lazarus moment is here? Chosen one, let me tell you something that might shake you to your core. That feeling you've carried your entire life, that sense of being different, disconnected, like you're watching the world through glass, that wasn't a mistake. That was a marking. You've sat in church pews wondering why everyone else seemed so comfortable, while your spirit was wrestling with something deeper. You've been in family gatherings feeling like an alien in your own bloodline. You've tried to fit into friend groups, workplaces, even ministries, and something always felt off. But here's what nobody told you. You were not built to blend in, you were built to break patterns. While others were being entertained by surface-level Christianity, you were being enlisted for something far more dangerous. While they were content with Sunday sermons and Wednesday night potlucks, your soul was crying out for the deeper things of God. While they were satisfied with religious routine, you were marked for revolution. Listen to me carefully. Jeremiah 1-5 declares, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." Set you apart. Not because you were perfect, but because you were purposed. You've probably beaten yourself up for years, thinking something was wrong with you. Why can't I just be normal? Why do I feel everything so deeply? Why does small talk feel like torture? Why do I see through people's masks when everyone else seems blind? Because you carry a frequency that most people can't handle. You operate in spiritual dimensions that make religious folks uncomfortable. You ask questions that challenge their comfort zones. You hunger for truth while they're satisfied with tradition. Think about David. When Samuel came to anoint the next king of Israel, David wasn't even invited to the ceremony. His own father forgot about him, left him in the fields with the sheep while his brothers stood in the spotlight. Can you imagine that rejection? That dismissal? But here's the revelation that'll change everything. Heaven had already chosen him. While his family was focused on appearances, God was looking at the heart. While they were measuring by human standards, God was marking by divine purpose. You weren't overlooked, beloved. You were overseen, hidden until the appointed time, protected from premature exposure that could have destroyed what God was building in secret. That awkwardness you feel in religious circles, that's because you carry something they don't recognize. That restlessness during shallow conversations, that's because your spirit is wired for prophetic dialogue. That loneliness even in crowds, that's because you're being prepared for assignments that require supernatural solitude. You've been asking God, why me? Why this weight? Why this burden? But what if the real question is, why not me? What did God see in me that qualified me for this marking? The enemy has spent decades trying to convince you that your difference is a defect, that your intensity is a problem, that your hunger for the deep things of God is somehow excessive. But that's because he knows something you're just beginning to discover. When you fully step into who you are, entire atmospheres shift. You don't just enter rooms, you alter them. You don't just speak words, you release decrees. You don't just pray prayers, you wage warfare. And hell has been trying to keep you convinced that you're too much, too deep, too different, because it knows that when you embrace your marking, chains break. Your sensitivity isn't weakness, it's weaponry. Your ability to discern spirits, to feel the weight of atmospheres, to sense what others miss, that's not a burden, that's a blessing. You're not overly emotional, you're spiritually tuned. For too long, you've been trying to shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never designed for your assignment. You've been apologizing for the very things that make you dangerous to darkness. You've been hiding the fire that God lit in your bones because others couldn't handle the heat. But I'm here to tell you, your time of hiding is over. Your season of shrinking is finished. The very thing that made you feel like an outcast is about to become your platform. The depth that made you feel alone is about to become your authority. The marking that made you feel different is about to reveal your destiny. Write this down, and I mean literally write it down. I'm not behind, I'm being revealed. You haven't been delayed, beloved. You've been refined. Every year of feeling misunderstood was a year of preparation. Every season of isolation was a season of incubation. Every moment of feeling like you didn't belong was God protecting what He was creating in you. The world is about to see what the wilderness produced. The church is about to encounter what the cave cultivated. And heaven is about to release what hell tried to suppress. You are marked, you are chosen, you are set apart. And the very thing that made you feel different is about to make you dangerous. But here's what terrifies the enemy most. You're starting to remember who you are. Chosen one, I need you to stop right here and listen to something that might shatter you. That weight you've been carrying, that crushing, suffocating weight that makes you feel like you can barely breathe some nights, that's not your burden, that's your badge. You've been carrying pain that others dismissed, silent battles no one saw, invisible wounds that still bleed when you're alone. That ache in your soul when you lost your spouse of 47 years and suddenly the house feels like a tomb. The way you smile at church on Sunday while your heart screams in silence. The nights you've cried so hard your pillow was soaked, wondering if God even remembers your name. Let me tell you something that's going to rock your world. You weren't buried. You were planted. Every tear that fell from your eyes wasn't wasted water. It was sacred irrigation for something eternal growing inside you. That loneliness after the funeral when everyone went home and you sat in that empty living room, God was there, writing your legacy in the dark, preparing you for something your pain-clouded eyes couldn't yet see. You think your suffering disqualified you, but heaven sees it differently. Heaven sees qualification. Look at Job. Lost everything, his children, his wealth, his health. Even his wife told him to curse God and die. But Job 23:10 declares, "But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold." Job didn't just survive his trial, he emerged refined, purified, dangerous to darkness. Your midnight tears weren't meaningless, they were prophetic. Every night you pulled yourself out of bed when grief pinned you down, God was watching. When you prayed for others while no one prayed for you, angels took note. When you whispered worship through your worst days, heaven leaned in. You carry weight, not because you're weak, but because you're woven with heaven's fabric. The strongest trees grow in the windiest places. The deepest wells are dug in the driest ground. And the most powerful voices come from those who learn to speak in the silence. I want to tell you about Margaret, 83 years old, lost her husband to cancer, spent 30 years praying in silence, feeling forgotten. Her children lived thousands of miles away. Her church friends slowly passed on. But God didn't forget Margaret. He was writing her legacy. At 83, she started a prayer ministry that now covers 3 states. Her tears became the foundation for thousands of miracles. Your pain wasn't punishment, it was prophetic. That depression that almost took you out, it taught you to fight for your mind. That betrayal that shattered your trust, it showed you who's really for you. That financial ruin that humiliated you broke your pride and birthed your dependence on God. That diagnosis that terrified you reminded you that your days are numbered and every breath is borrowed grace. You didn't just survive. You were sanctified through every sleepless night. Every betrayal didn't just break your heart, it branded your spirit. Heaven took note. You see, not everyone could survive what you did. That wasn't just hardship, it was holy fire. You've wept in secret while wearing a smile in public. But Psalm 56:8 says, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book." Every tear was counted. Every sob was sacred. Every moment you thought you were alone, God was documenting your faithfulness. The reason nothing satisfies you anymore is because your destiny is demanding movement. That restlessness isn't anxiety, it's assignment calling. That longing for something more isn't discontent, it's divine DNA awakening. Your scars aren't evidence of your failure. They're proof of your survival. They're credentials heaven recognizes. They're the reason God trusts you with authority others could never handle. Because you've been through the fire and came out gold. You carry something hell can't copy, authenticity forged in affliction. Your voice has weight because it was shaped in the valley. Your prayers have power because they were birthed in desperation. Your worship has fire because it was refined in the furnace. People wonder why you're different now, why you see through facades, why you don't chase what you used to, why shallow conversations drain you. It's because pain changed you not into bitterness, but into brilliance. You see clearer, you discern faster, You don't tolerate nonsense because you've tasted what's real. That depth in you isn't just personality, it's preparation, and it's about to become your platform. Listen to me carefully. Your greatest wounds are pointing directly to your greatest calling. That's why the enemy hit you so hard in those specific areas. He saw your blueprint. He knew what you'd become if you survived. And you did more than survive, you thrived. Every closed door wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Every delay wasn't denial, it was divine timing. Every loss wasn't punishment, it was preparation for greater gain. If your tears ever fell on a Bible page, say it aloud right now. He saw me, because he did, and he still does. Your pain qualified you for an assignment that only the broken but not bitter can carry. You're not just a survivor, you're a standard. You're proof that what doesn't kill you doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you chosen. But here's the question that will determine everything. Will you waste what you survived, or will you steward the strength it gave you? Because someone is waiting for your voice. Someone needs to hear how you made it through. Someone needs to see that survival is possible. Your pain had a purpose. Now, what will you do with the power it produced? Chosen one, I need you to stop right here and listen to something that's going to shatter every lie the enemy ever whispered about your childhood. You were targeted as a child because hell recognized your blueprint before you did. Think about it. Why did Pharaoh order the slaughter of Hebrew babies in Exodus? Why did King Herod command the massacre of infants in Matthew chapter 2? Because a deliverer was being born. The enemy always attacks what threatens his kingdom. And you, dear one, you were that threat. From the moment you drew your first breath, darkness panicked. You didn't come into this world quietly. You came with a spiritual blueprint encoded with power, purpose, and divine disruption. You were born with a target on your back, not because you were disposable, but because you were dangerous. The reason your childhood felt like a battlefield wasn't because something was wrong with you. It was because everything about you was right. You were made for this. You were anointed for war before you even knew what war was. Let me ask you something that might cut deep. Why do you think the attacks came so early? Why were you the one who felt different, who was misunderstood, who carried weight that other children couldn't even see? Why did rejection find you before you even learned to walk properly? Why did trauma visit your house when you were still learning to spell your own name? Because the enemy saw something in you that you hadn't even discovered yet. He recognized the light. He saw the mantle. He sensed the favor before you knew how to walk in it. And because of that, he tried to take you out before you could become it. You were called too much because your spirit was too big for small minds to comprehend. You were labeled weird because you operated on a frequency that carnal people couldn't tune into. You were rejected because your very presence exposed the compromise in others. But here's what the enemy didn't count on. God preserved your mind. God guarded your spirit. God hid you in plain sight, while hell was trying to destroy you in broad daylight. Every panic attack you survived as a child, that was warfare. Every night you cried yourself to sleep feeling misunderstood, that was spiritual sabotage. Every time adults failed you, abandoned you, or betrayed your trust, that was hell trying to distort your view of your heavenly Father. The enemy planted shame where there should have been identity. He sowed confusion where there should have been clarity. He orchestrated chaos where there should have been calm. All of it was intentional, not by God, but by the adversary who knew your name even before you believed you had a voice. But you survived. And that survival wasn't luck, it was grace under fire. Look at you now. You're still standing. You're still breathing. You're still believing. That's not human strength. That's holy fortitude. You've walked through storms with no umbrella, climbed mountains without maps, and stood in rooms where your spirit didn't feel safe. But you kept going. Scripture tells us in Psalm 91, 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You have been protected in ways you didn't even know to pray for. You were shielded from things you never saw coming. Why? because your destiny had to be preserved. The very attacks that were meant to silence you have given you a testimony. The trauma that was designed to break you has made you a breaker of chains for others. The rejection that nearly destroyed your self-worth has given you the ability to see the rejected and restore their dignity. What the enemy meant for evil, God has turned for good. Every scar is now a medal of honor. Every wound has become a well of wisdom. Every tear you cried in secret has become a river of compassion for others walking through their own valleys. You thought your sensitivity was weakness, but it's actually your superpower. You thought your intensity was too much, but it's exactly what the world needs. You thought your depth made you an outsider, but it makes you an overcomer. The enemy overplayed his hand. In trying to destroy you, he awakened you. In trying to shame you, he gave you a story that will set others free. In trying to silence you, he gave you a voice that carries authority. Here's the revelation that's going to change everything. What you thought disqualified you was the very reason God trusted you with such a weighty assignment. God doesn't place his most dangerous assignments in the hands of the comfortable. He places them in the hands of the wounded, the rejected, the misunderstood, the ones who lost it all and still kept their worship, the ones who had every reason to curse God and die, but instead whispered, "Still, I believe." You weren't attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you were anointed. The darkness could see your light forming, and it tried to dim it before it could illuminate the room. But you kept burning, flickering, yes, but never extinguished. Stand up right now, even in your spirit. Feel the weight of this truth settling on your shoulders like a mantle. Say this with me. I was born for war and I'm still here. The battles of your past weren't random, they were training. And now you're not just a survivor, you're a warrior with scars that tell the story of God's keeping power. But here's what's about to happen next. The very enemy who targeted you early is about to discover that his greatest mistake was letting you survive. Here's what he waited 2 hours to say: don't ignore this. Chosen one, for too long you've been living beneath your calling. For too long you've been apologizing for the fire burning in your chest. For too long you've been shrinking back when God has been calling you forward. And heaven is fed up with your hesitation. The almighty creator of the universe, the one who spoke galaxies into existence, the one who parted the Red Sea and raised the dead, he stopped everything to deliver this message to your spirit. Stop shrinking. You've been playing small in a world that needs your giant faith. You've been whispering when God gave you a voice like thunder. You've been hiding when he called you to shine. And every time you dim your light to make others comfortable, you're not being humble, you're being disobedient. Listen to me carefully. The woman at the well didn't shrink back when Jesus revealed her past. She ran into the city declaring what she'd encountered. David didn't shrink when he faced Goliath. He ran toward the giant. Queen Esther didn't shrink when her people needed deliverance. She risked everything for such a time as this. Stop delaying. How many more signs do you need? How many more confirmations? How many more midnight whispers from the Holy Spirit before you finally say yes? God is not asking for your perfection, he's demanding your participation. And every day you delay is another day someone else remains bound, because you refuse to walk in the authority he's already given you. The clock of eternity is ticking, and there are souls assigned to your voice, your story, your breakthrough. There are chains that will only break when you step into alignment. There are generational curses waiting for your obedience to shatter them forever. But you keep saying, I'm not ready. I need more time. I need more confirmation. When did Noah feel ready to build an ark? When did Moses feel qualified to confront Pharaoh? When did Mary feel prepared to carry the Messiah? They didn't act because they felt ready. They acted because God said move. Heaven is not whispering anymore, it's roaring. Can you feel it? That rumbling in your spirit? That divine dissatisfaction with mediocrity? That holy anger at the status quo? That's not depression, that's divine disruption. That's heaven shaking you awake from spiritual slumber. God is no longer speaking in gentle nudges. He's speaking in earthquakes, in dreams that wake you at 3 a.m., in repeated numbers you can't ignore, in strangers who speak your prophetic language, in circumstances that corner you into destiny. The voice that once whispered, "Come up higher," is now thundering, "Rise up now." The spirit that once gently tugged at your heart is now pulling you with supernatural force toward your assignment. This is not the time for spiritual politeness. This is the hour of holy boldness. Isaiah 60:1 declares, "Arise, shine, for your light has come," not will come, has come. Your moment isn't approaching, it's here. Your season isn't starting, it's exploding around you right now. You have survived. Now it's time to walk in authority. Every betrayal that should have destroyed you, you survived. Every loss that should have broken you, you survived. Every attack that should have silenced you, you survived. And your survival wasn't luck. It was divine preservation. God kept you alive because He knew this moment was coming. But survival was never the end goal. It was preparation for dominion. You weren't kept to simply exist, you were preserved to reign. You weren't protected just to play it safe, you were covered so you could be dangerous to darkness. The authority Jesus spoke of in Luke 10:19 is yours. I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions, and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Not, I will give. I have given. It's already deposited in your spiritual account. The question is, when will you start making withdrawals? You've been asking God for more power when He's been asking you to use what you already have. You've been praying for open doors when He's been waiting for you to walk through the ones He's already unlocked. You've been crying for breakthrough when He's been shouting, "You are the breakthrough." The enemy trembles not at your potential. He's terrified of your awakening. He's not afraid of what you might become. He's horrified by who you already are. Every attack you've survived, every giant you've faced, every valley you've walked through has been building an arsenal of authority in your spirit. Right now, demonic forces are in emergency council meetings because one of God's sleeping giants is stirring. Hell's strategy rooms are in chaos because you're finally hearing heaven's roar. The principalities that have ruled your family line for generations are packing their bags because their lease just expired. This is your Esther 4:14 moment. Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? This is your burning bush encounter. This is your Damascus Road experience. This is where everything changes. Type today's date in the comments. That's not just a comment, it's your spiritual contract, a timestamp of surrender. The moment you stopped running from your calling and started running toward your destiny. Because what God is about to release through you won't just change your life, it's going to transform everyone connected to your obedience. The throne room never went silent. It was waiting for your yes. Chosen one, in this sacred stillness, can you feel it? That divine electricity crackling in the atmosphere around you. The very air you're breathing has become holy ground because heaven is downloading something directly into your spirit right now. You know what Moses felt when he saw that burning bush. Exodus 3:2 tells us the bush was on fire, yet it did not burn up. That's exactly what's happening to you in this moment. You're not just hearing God's voice anymore. You're seeing His fire. And just like that bush, you're burning, but you're not being consumed. You're being consecrated. Have you felt the whisper growing louder, like something inside you won't sit still anymore? Like there's a divine restlessness that's been building for weeks, maybe months. That's not your imagination. That's not anxiety. That's the Spirit of the living God stirring the embers of your calling back to life. For too long, you've been walking around with cold ashes where there should be blazing fire. You've been content with lukewarm faith when God designed you to be a walking furnace. But something shifted the moment you clicked on this message. The whisper that's been gentle for so long just turned into a roar. Let me ask you something that might shake you to your core. What if the reason you've been feeling so unsettled lately isn't because something's wrong with your life? What if it's because something's finally going right? What if God has been strategically disrupting your comfort because he's about to launch you into your assignment? You see, chosen one, God doesn't whisper to the comfortable. He whispers to the desperate. He doesn't visit the satisfied. He visits the hungry. And if you're honest with yourself, you've been starving for something real, something authentic, something that makes your soul come alive again. That fire you're feeling in your bones right now, that's not emotion, that's recognition. Your spirit is remembering what it felt like before the world tried to convince you to dim your light. Before religion tried to put you in a box. Before people told you to be realistic about your dreams. But here's what hell never wanted you to discover. You were never meant to be realistic. You were meant to be supernatural. You were never designed to fit in. You were crafted to stand out. You weren't born to blend with the crowd. You were born to lead the remnant. The enemy has been working overtime to keep this fire from igniting in your life. He's thrown distraction after distraction at you. He's sent people to discourage you, circumstances to delay you, and disappointments to derail you, because he knows something about your destiny that you're just beginning to remember. When you step into the fullness of who God created you to be, chains break. When you start walking in your true authority, strongholds crumble. When you finally say yes to the fire burning in your chest, generations get set free. But here's the shocking truth that's going to change everything. God has been waiting exactly 2 hours and 47 minutes for you to fully surrender to this moment. Not 2 hours and 48 minutes. Not 2 hours and 46 minutes. Exactly this amount of time. Because divine timing is never random. It's always precise. You want to know why you've been sensing such urgency lately? Why you can't shake the feeling that time is running out? Because it is. Not in a fearful way, but in a holy way. There's a window of grace that's been opened over your life, and that window has an expiration date. The same God who told Moses, "I have heard my people crying," is telling you right now, "I have heard your crying." Every midnight tear, every silent prayer, every moment you whispered, "God, there has to be more than this." He heard it all. He recorded it all. And now he's responding to it all. Comment, "I hear him," if you feel the fire rising in your bones. Because what you're experiencing right now isn't just spiritual enthusiasm. It's spiritual activation. The dormant gifts are waking up. The buried dreams are resurging. The silenced voice is finding its sound again. You've been asking God for a sign. This is it. You've been begging heaven for confirmation. This is it. You've been pleading for your moment. This is it. But here's what separates those who receive from those who just recognize. Response. Recognition without response is just spiritual entertainment. But recognition with response, that's when miracles happen. That's when breakthrough manifests. That's when destiny unfolds. The fire isn't just warming you up. It's preparing you for launch. The whisper didn't just get louder to comfort you. It turned to fire to commission you. And what God is about to release through your obedience will shock even you. So I need to ask you the question that will determine everything that happens next. Are you ready to stop playing it safe and start playing for keeps? Because what I'm about to reveal will require you to burn every bridge back to mediocrity. Chosen one, I need you to stop for a moment and look back at your life. Really look. Do you see the pattern? The way doors slammed shut just when you thought breakthrough was coming. The way people walked away right when you needed them most. The way opportunities vanished like smoke the moment you reached for them. You called it rejection. You called it bad luck. You called it abandonment. But heaven calls it something else entirely. You weren't forgotten. You were hidden in the folds of heaven's robe. While you were crying in your bedroom, wondering if God had turned his back on you, he was actually shielding you from a world that wasn't ready for what you carry. While you felt invisible, overlooked, passed by, God was preparing you in the secret place where only he could see. Think about it. Why do you think David spent all those years in the wilderness before he touched the throne? Why did Moses tend sheep for 40 years before he led a nation? Why did Jesus himself remain hidden for 30 years before his ministry began? Because what God builds in secret, the world cannot destroy in public. You've been asking God, why me? Why all this pain? Why so much struggle when others seem to coast through life? But what if I told you that every tear you cried was collected in heaven's bottle? What if every sleepless night you endured was actually preparation for sleepless nights of intercession? What if every betrayal that cut your heart was actually God cutting away what would have contaminated your calling? Scripture tells us in Psalm 139:16, "Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to pass." Every single day of hiding was written in heaven's book. Every season of silence was scheduled by the Almighty. But here's what will blow your mind. The veil is tearing. Not just the temple veil that tore when Jesus died, but the veil over your life. The covering that kept you hidden is being pulled back. The season of obscurity is ending. And now, chosen one, God is about to hand you something that will change everything. A scroll. Not made of paper, but written in the language of pain, sealed by suffering, authored by the Almighty himself. What looked like scars were actually sealed scrolls. Every wound you thought was wasted was actually God writing your assignment in a language only you could read. Every rejection that broke your heart was actually God protecting the scroll until you were mature enough to handle what's written inside. In Revelation 5, John sees a scroll in the right hand of God, sealed with 7 seals. And the question echoes through heaven, who is worthy to open the scroll? John weeps because no one is found worthy. But then the Lion of Judah steps forward. But listen to me carefully. You are worthy to open your scroll. Not because you're perfect, but because you survived the imperfect. Not because you never fell, but because you got back up. Not because you never doubted, but because you kept believing, even in the doubt. You are worthy because you carried pain that would have crushed others. You are worthy because you worshipped through the tears. You are worthy because you interceded for people who betrayed you. You are worthy because when hell threw everything it had at you, you're still standing here, still breathing, still believing. The scroll that's about to be handed to you contains your true identity, your real assignment. The purpose that was written before time began, the calling that survived every storm, every setback, every season of silence. But here's the revelation that's going to shake you to your core. You weren't waiting on the scroll to open. The scroll was waiting on you, waiting for you to stop seeing yourself as a victim and start walking as a victor, waiting for you to stop asking why and start asking what now. Waiting for you to realize that your pain wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every midnight tear prepared you to comfort others in their darkness. Every financial struggle taught you to trust God's provision. Every relationship that ended prepared you to value the covenant connections He's bringing. Every closed door strengthened your faith muscle for the doors He's about to open. The scroll contains your spiritual DNA, your heavenly assignment, the blueprint for the second half of your life that will make the first half make sense. It contains the names of people you're called to reach, the mountains you're anointed to move, the chains you're commissioned to break. Right now, as I speak these words, the seals are breaking. Can you feel it? That stirring in your spirit, that quickening in your pulse, that sudden sense that everything is about to change. That's not emotion, dear one. That's the sound of heaven unsealing what pain sealed. God waited until this exact moment to hand you this scroll, because timing is everything in the kingdom. He waited until your character could carry the weight of your calling. He waited until your heart was pure enough to handle the power. He waited until you were desperate enough to depend completely on Him. The hidden season is over. The scroll is open. Your name is being called from the throne room. But here's the question that will determine your destiny. Are you ready to receive what you've been prepared to carry? You thought you were just unlucky, but you were born on a battlefield. Chosen one, Let me tell you something that's going to shatter everything you thought you knew about your life. Every rejection that cut deep, every door that slammed in your face, every night you cried yourself to sleep, wondering why nothing ever worked out. That wasn't coincidence. That wasn't bad luck. That was warfare. You've been under attack since the day you drew your first breath. Not because you were weak, because you were dangerous. Hell recognized what was in you before you ever did. They saw the anointing. They sensed the calling. They felt the tremor of destiny in your DNA, and they panicked. Every delay, betrayal, anxiety attack, those were darts aimed at your destiny. Every time you almost gave up, every moment you questioned your worth, every season you felt forgotten by God, that was the enemy trying to assassinate your assignment before you could discover it. The Bible tells us in Ephesians 6:12, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world." You've been wrestling your whole life, haven't you? Fighting battles no one else could see, carrying burdens no one else understood, facing opposition that made no logical sense. But here's what hell never told you. Every attack was actually a confession that you carry something they can't replicate, something they can't steal, something that threatens their very existence. You are heaven's weapon, still wrapped in the cloth of trauma. Think about it. Why do you think your childhood was so hard? Why did rejection find you so early? Why did pain seem to follow you like a shadow? Because darkness always attacks what threatens its territory. You weren't attacked because you were cursed. You were attacked because you were chosen. Every scar on your soul is evidence of a battle fought in the spirit realm. Every tear you've cried was collected in heaven's bottles. Every sleepless night you endured was witnessed by angels who knew what you were becoming. They tried to bury you in silence, but you heard him. They tried to paralyze your praise, but you whispered still. They tried to erase your name, but heaven kept writing it down. You didn't just survive hell, you exposed it. Do you understand what that means? Every time you chose worship over worry, you exposed hell's weakness. Every time you forgave instead of seeking revenge, you revealed hell's powerlessness. Every time you got back up when life knocked you down, you proved that what's in you is greater than what's against you. The war wasn't random. It was strategic. Hell threw everything it had at you because they saw your future. They saw you setting captives free. They saw you breaking generational curses. They saw you becoming a voice that would wake up a sleeping generation. But here's the beautiful irony. Every weapon they formed against you only made you stronger. Every attack only increased your capacity. Every wound only deepened your compassion. They tried to destroy you, but they ended up designing you. You've been forged in fire, tested in pressure, refined in pain, and now you carry something most people will never possess. Authority born from authentic suffering. When you speak, demons tremble. Not because of your volume, but because of your victory. Not because of what you say, but because of what you've survived. The anxiety attacks weren't just mental health struggles, they were spiritual assaults on your peace. The depression wasn't just chemical imbalance, it was an attempt to silence the song in your spirit. The isolation wasn't just social awkwardness, it was hell trying to cut you off from your purpose. But you're still here, still breathing, still believing, still fighting. That's not luck, that's supernatural preservation. Think about Job. Hell asked permission to test him because they recognized the threat he posed to their kingdom. Think about Daniel, thrown into a lion's den because his prayers were disrupting demonic operations. Think about Paul, shipwrecked, beaten, imprisoned not because he was doing something wrong, but because he was doing something right. Your struggle wasn't evidence of God's absence. It was proof of your importance in His plan. Every closed door forced you to develop faith. Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every setback built your resilience. Every attack only revealed more of who you truly are. You're not a victim of spiritual warfare. You're a victor through spiritual warfare. And now that you understand the war, you can finally step into your weapons. Your worship isn't just praise, it's warfare. Your testimony isn't just story, it's artillery. Your very existence isn't just survival, it's strategy. The same enemy that tried to destroy you is now terrified of you. Because you didn't just make it through the fire, you learned how to carry the fire. You don't just overcome darkness, you expose it wherever you go. But here's what's most important. The war isn't over. It's just changing battlefields. You're no longer fighting for your survival, you're fighting for your assignment. You're no longer defending yourself. You're delivering others. The question is, are you ready to stop fighting defensively and start fighting offensively? Are you ready to take the battle to the enemy's territory? Are you ready to use your scars as weapons and your story as ammunition? Because if you thought the war for your soul was intense, wait until you see what happens when you start fighting for the souls of others. Chosen one, I need you to stop right here. Stop the mental chatter. Stop the doubt. Stop rehearsing your failures like a broken record. Because what I'm about to reveal will shatter every lie you've believed about yourself. You've been walking around wearing labels that were never yours. Broken, damaged, too old, too late, past your prime. But those aren't your names. Those are the costumes hell dressed you in to keep you from seeing what heaven has always seen. You want to know why the enemy fought you so hard, why the attacks came so early, why you felt targeted from childhood. Because darkness always strikes what threatens its territory. You weren't attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you were marked. Right now, in this very moment, God is pulling back the veil. He's opening the hidden archives of heaven, and your name is written on every page. Not the name your trauma gave you, not the identity your circumstances carved. Your real name. The one He whispered over you before your first breath. Listen to me carefully. You are not what happened to you. You are not the sum of your mistakes. You are not defined by how many times you fell. You are who God called you to be before time began, before your parents met, before this world was even spoken into existence. Isaiah 60:1 declares it with thunderous authority. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. Did you catch that? Your light has come. Not coming, not might come someday, has come. Right now, right here, in this moment. You know what your problem has been. You've been looking in broken mirrors, mirrors cracked by rejection, mirrors distorted by betrayal, mirrors fogged by disappointment. But God is holding up His mirror now, and what you see will take your breath away. You see a senior citizen, God sees a general. You see wrinkled hands, God sees weapons of warfare. You see a fading voice. God sees a trumpet that can wake the dead. You see your twilight years. God sees your finest hour. For decades, you've been asking the wrong question. You've been asking, God, when will you use me? But God has been asking, when will you stop hiding who you are? You weren't buried in that season of silence. You were planted. And now you're not just rising. You're being revealed. Like a photograph developing in the dark room, every trial was adding definition to the image God was creating. Every tear was washing away what didn't belong. Every loss was making room for what did. But here's what will shock you most. Heaven's not giving you a stage, it's giving you a scroll. You're not being lifted to perform, you're being revealed to prophesy. God didn't preserve you through all that pain just so you could retire quietly. He preserved you because this generation is dying for authentic voices. Voices that have been tested, voices that have been broken and rebuilt. Voices that carry the sound of victory, not theory. Do you understand what's happening right now? While you've been feeling invisible, God has been making you invincible. While you've been feeling forgotten, He's been making you unforgettable. While you've been feeling finished, He's been making you formidable. Your age isn't your limitation, it's your authority. Every gray hair is a crown of wisdom. Every scar is a medal of honor. Every line on your face is a testament that you survived what was meant to destroy you. There are young people right now drowning in despair, and they need to see proof that God still delivers. There are families falling apart, and they need to witness the restoration power that flows through surrendered lives. There are souls on the edge of giving up, and they need to hear your voice saying, "If God can bring me through, He can bring you through too." You think your best days are behind you. God says your greatest impact is still ahead. You think you missed your moment. God says your moment is now. You think you're too late. God says you're right on time for the harvest. This isn't about age. This isn't about ability. This is about availability. And the most dangerous weapon in God's arsenal is a surrendered senior who has nothing left to lose and everything eternal to gain. So I'm asking you right now, in this sacred moment, to stop apologizing for taking up space. Stop shrinking back, because the world worships youth. Stop whispering when God gave you a voice that can shake nations. The enemy spent decades trying to silence you. But silence isn't your portion anymore. Your voice has been seasoned by suffering. Your words have been weighted by experience. Your prayers have been purified by fire. You are not a has-been. You are a will-be. You are not a relic. You are a revelation. You are not in your final chapter. You are in your finest chapter. Whisper this aloud right now. Unveil me, Lord. Go ahead. Say it. Unveil me, Lord. That whisper may shake realms, because when God unveils what He's been hiding, demons tremble and angels stand at attention. But here's the question that will determine everything. Now that you know who you really are, what are you going to do about it? Chosen one, do you feel that weight settling on your shoulders right now? That unexplainable heaviness that's been growing stronger each day. You've been calling it burden, calling it pressure, calling it stress. But what if I told you that what you're feeling isn't weight at all, it's a mantle descending from heaven with your name stitched into every thread? This is the hour where mantles are falling, not on stages, not in conferences, not where cameras flash and crowds cheer. They're falling in bedrooms, in prayer closets, in the sacred silence where you've wept tears that only God has counted. They're falling on the forgotten, the overlooked, the ones who've been crying out, "God, when will it be my turn?" Your turn is now. But here's what's breaking my heart tonight. I'm watching mantles hit the ground because people don't recognize what's falling on them. They're so focused on their pain that they're missing their promotion. They're so consumed with their yesterday that they're forfeiting their tomorrow. Listen to me carefully. When Elijah threw his mantle on Elisha in 1 Kings 19:19, it wasn't just a piece of cloth. It was a transfer of authority, a passing of power, a divine inheritance. And right now, heaven has dropped something with your name stitched into it. But you have to reach out and take it. Why do you think the warfare has been so intense lately? Why do you think the enemy has been attacking your mind, your relationships, your finances with such precision? Because hell sees what's falling on you before you do. The devil recognizes the mantle before the prophet does. You've been wondering why you can't sleep at night, why your spirit feels restless when everything around you looks normal, why you're suddenly sensitive to things that never bothered you before, why fake people feel nauseating now, why shallow conversations drain your soul. It's because the mantle is awakening something ancient in you, something that refuses to play small anymore, something that can't tolerate compromise because it carries the fragrance of the throne room. But I need you to understand something that will shock you. What crushed others is now your covering. What wounded you is now your weapon. Every betrayal that broke your heart, it taught you discernment. Every loss that left you empty, it created capacity for glory. Every silent night where you cried alone, it fine-tuned your ears to hear heaven's whispers. The mantle doesn't fall on the comfortable, it falls on the crushed. It doesn't descend on the celebrated, it rests on the rejected. 2 Corinthians 1-4 tells us that God comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. Your pain wasn't pointless, it was preparation. Your scars aren't shame marks, they're anointing marks. The very thing that tried to destroy you is now the very thing that qualifies you to carry what heaven is releasing. Do you know why you've felt so alone these past months? Why friends have grown distant? Why doors that used to open easily now seem locked tight? Because God has been isolating you, not to punish you, but to prepare you, not to abandon you, but to anoint you. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before God called him from the burning bush. David was hidden in caves before he stepped into the palace. Esther was an orphan before she became queen. And you, chosen one, have been in your wilderness, your cave, your place of hiddenness, because mantles don't fall in public, they fall in private first. But the private season is ending. The mantle that's been hovering over you is ready to settle, and when it does, everything changes. Your voice carries different weight. Your prayers pierce different realms. Your presence shifts atmospheres without you even trying. Lift your hands right now. I'm serious. Lift them high. The mantle isn't symbolic. It's heavy. It's real. It's descending. Right now as I speak these words, you can feel it, can't you? That spiritual weight settling on your shoulders like a warm, heavy blanket of authority. This is why you've been restless. This is why nothing satisfies you anymore. This is why you can't go back to who you used to be. The mantle won't let you. It's calling you up higher, calling you out deeper, calling you into realms you've only dreamed about. But here's the critical moment. You have to receive it. You have to say yes. You have to stop running from the very thing God is trying to give you. Some of you have been praying for breakthrough while rejecting the very mantle that would release it. The same mantle that fell on Elijah gave him power to call down fire from heaven, to outrun chariots, to raise the dead. The same spirit that anointed David to kill giants, to write psalms that still heal hearts today, to rule nations with wisdom. That same anointing, that same authority, that same mantle is falling on you right now. Not because you're perfect, but because you're willing. Not because you have it all together, but because you've been broken apart and put back together by the Master's hands. Say it aloud right now. Don't just think it. Speak it with your mouth. I receive the mantle. I won't delay. I won't shrink back. I won't make excuses. I receive what heaven is releasing over my life. Then comment below, mantled and marked. Let heaven and hell both see it. Let the angels record your agreement. Let the demons tremble at your declaration. Because once you receive this mantle, once you step into this authority, there's no going back to small living. The question burning in heaven right now is simple. Will you pick up what's falling, or will you let another generation pass before someone finally says yes? Chosen one, I need you to lean in close, because what I'm about to reveal will shatter everything you thought you knew about God's timing. You've been asking yourself why the silence lasted so long, why your breakthrough felt delayed, why others seemed to get their answers while you waited in what felt like spiritual solitary confinement. Here's the truth that will rock you to your core. God didn't wait because he forgot about you. He waited because if he had spoken sooner, it would have crushed you under the weight of what he was preparing to release. But now, after everything you've endured, you're finally strong enough to carry what you once would have collapsed under. Think about this for a moment. When a surgeon operates, they don't wake the patient in the middle of the procedure. Why? Because the patient isn't ready to handle what's happening. They need to be unconscious while the life-saving work is being done. God has been operating on your spirit in the darkness, and you've been asleep to the process. He's been dressing your soul in armor while you thought you were just surviving another sleepless night. Every tear you cried in secret was liquid steel being forged into your spiritual breastplate. Every betrayal that broke your heart was God reinforcing your ability to discern who's truly for you. Every closed door that devastated you was heaven installing unbreachable walls around your calling, so no counterfeit could contaminate it. You see, Romans 8:19 declares that Creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. Creation itself has been holding its breath, waiting for this moment when you would finally understand who you really are. Not just another believer hoping for a blessing, but a revealed son or daughter of the Most High God, dressed for battle, equipped for dominion. But here's what's going to shake you to your foundation. The 2 hours God waited weren't just about your preparation, they were about divine timing, aligning with earthly urgency. While you were wondering if God had forgotten your address, He was coordinating a convergence that would change everything. Angels were being positioned, demonic assignments were being dismantled, generational curses were being broken in the spiritual realm. And you know what the enemy was doing during those 2 hours? Panicking. Because hell knows something you're just beginning to discover. When God finally speaks after a season of silence, it's not a whisper. It's a roar that shakes the foundations of darkness. Let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. How many times have you begged God to speak, only to realize later that you weren't ready for the answer? How many times did you cry out for breakthrough when you were still spiritually naked, emotionally fragmented, mentally confused? If God had given you what you asked for in that condition, it would have destroyed you. But look at you now. Look at what you've survived. The depression that tried to bury you. The anxiety that attempted to strangle your faith. The people who walked away when you needed them most. The dreams that seemed to die in your hands. You're still here. You're still breathing. You're still believing. That's not human resilience. That's divine preservation. God wasn't ignoring your cries. He was answering them by making you strong enough to handle the weight of His response. Every trial was a training session. Every setback was a setup for supernatural comeback. Every moment you felt forgotten was actually God focusing His full attention on your transformation. And now, after 2 hours of divine preparation, you're not the same person who started this journey. You're not the frightened, fragile soul who used to beg for scraps of heaven's attention. You've been forged in fire. You've been baptized in tears. You've been commissioned in chaos. The armor is complete. The preparation is finished. The waiting is over. You want to know why God waited 2 hours? Because He needed you to stop being a victim and start being a victor. He needed you to graduate from survival mode to revival mode. He needed your faith to evolve from desperate pleading to declarative authority. And here's the revelation that's going to set your spirit on fire. You're not just chosen anymore, you're revealed. The hiding season is over. The incubation period has ended. Heaven is about to showcase what happens when broken becomes blessed, when wounded becomes warrior, when delayed becomes deployed. You're not just ready now, you're risen, not like Lazarus, stumbling out of the tomb still wrapped in grave clothes. You've emerged like Christ Himself, death defeated, hell conquered, heaven's full power coursing through your veins. And what heaven reveals, hell cannot revoke. What God unveils, demons cannot veil again. What the Almighty declares over your life, no force in hell or earth can contradict. The 2-hour wait is over. The divine timer has reached 0. And now, chosen one, you're about to discover that what felt like delay was actually the greatest gift God could give you. Because now when you move with His full backing. When you speak with His authority. When you stand in His strength. But this revelation comes with a sobering reality that will determine everything about your future. Are you ready to hear what God has been preparing you to carry? Chosen one, we've reached the moment where everything changes. Not tomorrow, not next week. Right here, right now. This is where you draw the line in the sand that separates who you were from, who heaven is calling you to become. For too long, you've been carrying an identity that was never yours to begin with. You've been walking around wearing labels that pain slapped on you, labels that betrayal branded into your soul, labels that rejection whispered in your ear until you believed them. But God is standing before you today with a divine eraser, ready to wipe clean every lie that's been written over your true identity. Every scar that told you that you weren't enough. Every voice that convinced you that you were too broken to be used. Every memory that made you believe your best days were behind you. Listen to me carefully. The enemy didn't attack you randomly. He targeted you specifically because he saw something in your spiritual DNA that terrified him. He saw the light. He saw the calling. He saw the mantle hovering over your life before you even knew it existed. That's why the warfare has been so intense. That's why the pain has felt so personal. That's why the isolation has cut so deep. Because darkness always attacks what threatens its territory most. You weren't attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you were anointed. Think about Job. The Bible tells us in Job 1-8 that God said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him." Notice something powerful here. God pointed Job out to the enemy. Why? Because Job carried something so precious, so powerful, that heaven itself wanted to showcase it. Your trials weren't evidence of God's absence. They were evidence of your importance. But here's what the enemy never calculated. Every strike he delivered only made you more dangerous. Every betrayal only sharpened your discernment. Every loss only deepened your dependence on God. Every tear only watered the seeds of your destiny. You didn't just survive those dark nights. You were sanctified through them. You didn't just endure that heartbreak. You were educated by it. You didn't just make it through that wilderness. You were weaponized in it. And now you stand here, not as a victim of your past, but as a victor who carries the testimony that what was meant to destroy you only served to deploy you. But this moment requires more than recognition. It demands declaration. It calls for a royal decree from your own lips that will echo through the corridors of eternity. Right now, I need you to speak these words out loud. Don't just think them. Don't just feel them. Declare them with the authority of someone who knows who they are. From this day forward, I will never be who pain tried to make me. Say it again with conviction. I am not who they left. I am not who they mocked. I am not who fear described. Now pause. Let that truth settle into your bones. I am who heaven unveiled. Do you feel that shift in the atmosphere? That's not just emotion. That's the sound of chains breaking. That's the sound of limitations shattering. That's the sound of your true identity roaring to life. Isaiah 43:18-19 declares, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" God is doing a new thing in your life right now. Not gradually, not eventually, right now. As these words wash over your spirit, heaven is rewriting your story. Angels are erasing old files and opening new ones. Your name is being called in rooms you've never seen, for assignments you never imagined. But this transformation comes with a cost. You can't take your old identity with you. You can't carry yesterday's limitations into tomorrow's liberty. You can't drag yesterday's fears into today's faith. This is your line in the sand. This is your point of no return. From this moment forward, you will not speak to yourself the way pain taught you to. You will not see yourself through the lens of your lowest moments. You will not measure your worth by your worst mistakes. You are stepping into a realm where your past doesn't have permission to define your future, where your scars become your credentials, where your testimony becomes your weapon. But understand this: the old you has to die today. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, actually, completely, finally. Romans 6:11 tells us to count yourselves dead to sin, but alive to God in Christ Jesus. Dead doesn't mean mostly gone. Dead doesn't mean taking a break. Dead means finished, over, done. The version of you that accepted less than God's best dies today. The version of you that made excuses for staying small dies today. The version of you that was afraid to use your voice dies today. What's being birthed in this moment is the you that God saw before the world was formed. The you that carries heaven's signature. The you that makes hell nervous and heaven proud. This isn't a motivational moment. This is a metamorphosis moment. And metamorphosis is violent. The caterpillar doesn't gradually become a butterfly. It dies completely, and something entirely new emerges. You're not improving. You're being reborn. You're not upgrading. You're being transformed. You're not getting better. You're becoming new. And this new you doesn't negotiate with old limitations. This new you doesn't apologize for taking up space. This new you doesn't shrink back from the calling that's been chasing you your entire life. Draw the line. Speak it. Stamp it. Seal it. Comment. No more hiding. If you're ready to step fully into who heaven has called you to be. And if you dare, share this with someone who carries silent fire. Someone who needs to hear that their hiding season is over. He waited 2 hours to speak this word over your life. Heaven has waited long enough. And chosen one, so have you. Chosen one, as we come to the close of this divine encounter, I need you to hold on to 3 unshakable truths that heaven has spoken over your life today. First, your waiting was never wasted. Every season of silence was a season of preparation. God wasn't ignoring your cries, He was orchestrating your comeback. The delays that broke your heart were actually divine protection, shielding you from doors that would have diminished your destiny. Second, your pain has purpose. Those scars you've been hiding, they're not evidence of your failure, they're proof of your survival. Every battle you fought in secret has equipped you for the assignment that's coming. You weren't broken by your trials, you were built through them. Third, your voice matters. The world needs what you carry. There are souls waiting to be touched by your testimony, hearts that will be healed by your story, and lives that will be transformed by your obedience to step into your calling. But here's what I want you to understand with absolute certainty. You are not walking this path alone. The same God who waited 2 hours to speak this word over your life is the same God who will walk with you every step of the way forward. He who began this good work in you will complete it. That's not a promise, that's a guarantee written in the blood of Jesus Christ. And beyond heaven's companionship, you have a community right here. Thousands of chosen ones who understand your journey, who've walked through their own valleys, who know what it means to feel called but misunderstood, anointed but attacked. You are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses who are cheering you on, praying for your breakthrough, and standing ready to walk alongside you. Before we close, I want to ask you one final question, and I need you to answer it honestly in the quiet of your heart. What will you do with what you've received today? Will you let this word settle into your spirit and change the trajectory of your life? Or will you scroll away and pretend this divine appointment never happened? The choice is yours, but remember, God doesn't speak twice what He's already spoken clearly once. Now, before you go anywhere, let me pray over you. I want you to receive this prayer as if I'm standing right beside you, my hand on your shoulder, speaking life directly into your circumstances. Father God, I lift up every precious soul who has heard this word today. Lord, you know their names before I speak them. You know their struggles before they voice them. You know their dreams before they dare to whisper them. I pray that your divine favor would rest upon them like a mantle. Where they've been overlooked, let them be seen. Where they've been undervalued, let them be celebrated. Where they've been delayed, let them walk into divine acceleration. Break every chain of fear that has held them back. Silence every voice of doubt that has whispered lies over their identity. Open doors that no man can shut, and shut doors that no man can open. Give them supernatural wisdom for the decisions ahead. Grant them boldness to speak when you say speak, and peace to rest when you say rest. Let their steps be ordered by you, and let their hearts be anchored in your unfailing love. Heal what's been broken. Restore what's been stolen, multiply what's been given. And Father, let them feel your presence so tangibly that they never doubt again that you are with them. Cover their families, protect their purposes, and prosper the work of their hands. Let this be the beginning of the greatest chapter of their lives, not because they deserve it, but because you are faithful to your promises. In the mighty name of Jesus, who conquered death, hell, and the grave, I seal this prayer and this word over their lives. Amen. Chosen one, don't let this moment end here. The community you need is waiting for you. Comment below and tell us what word hit your heart the deepest today. Share your prayer request. We believe in the power